I got to the pub door, it opens outwards. I am 6'1" high, and this very large doorknob is 3 feet and half an inch from the floor. As it opened, it flattened me against the wall. Charlie came out. He said, "You're crying. Have you had bad news?" I said, "Medically, yes." No, well, really, I ought to explain. You see, my friends, if I tell you what they're like, then you'll get a better sort of word picture. Do you mind not coughing, love, when I'm just taking a drink? I could have spluttered it. Charlie is a good mate and is married. That was very unfortunate affair because, you see, he's football mad and so was this girl next door. And Charlie was standing next to her and our team got a new centre forward and he's just scored. And Charlie nudged her. He says, "I'll tell you something." He was so excited, obviously. He said, "In a few months' time, he'll be our best man." Yeah. Well, she misunderstood him, you know, so he's too shy to, you know, and on the way home she said, "I'm so excited." And he said, "Yes, it was a good match." She said, "No, about us getting married." Well, a copper helped him and her out of the school railings, and what a wedding. Now, I can see Charlie now, because me and Harry, I'll tell you about him later, we're at the back of the church, and Charlie's standing there, and the best man was on his right-hand side, of course, you know, an angle of about 27.5 degrees. The vicar caught a whiff of his breath and got the verger to blow the candles out, you know. And the bride arrived, and I'll never forget that moving moment. And Charlie said, in a very loud voice, "With all my worldly goods, I thee endow." And Harry next to me, I could have strangled him. He said, "There goes his bicycle," and set it off, you know. Mind you, they made up for it at the reception. I've never seen aught like it. There was jars of dripping everywhere. You could have a thought. Mustard out of one of them things where you half unscrew the top and squirt it. I'm just trying to think about Charlie's cousin, Fred Thornton. Well, he's not a cousin, really. They're related through drink. Now, how... Fred is the one who thinks he knows it all. And he's boasting now because his brother Bert has got into the special police. Because Fred himself, although not in the police, my word, he's helped them in the past. In fact, you've read about him, but you didn't realise it at the time because he prefers to remain anonymous. When you see in the paper a man is helping the police with enquiries, 10 to 1 it's Fred Thornton. But his brother Bert, you know, he got in the specials and he was so exciting because his first duty was a Friday night. And he was standing on this corner and the sergeant came up and the sergeant said, "You're new here, a very observant man. Should make inspector." And so Bert said, "Yes." He said, I like to know the men on my beat. I like to find out about their IQ. So he said, "Who killed Julius Caesar?" He said, "I don't know, Sarge." So I said, "Bert, what are you telling us this for?" He said, "Don't you see? My first night on duty and I'm in a murder inquiry." Now, the last one I want to tell you about, Harry Armitage. We're in the Goat and Compasses one night. Well, we're in the Goat and Compasses every night, you know, except you're in the Blitz. And, but this particular night, Harry said to me, "You're walking very funny." I said, "I've got this rash round my legs just below my knees." He said, "Well, go and see the doctor." I went in, sat down. I thought, I'm not chatting to this lot. I'll read one of these magazines off the table in the middle. So I'm reading this magazine. That's sad about the Titanic. This woman came in. You meet one in every surgery. They want to tell you everything, don't they? She sat down on my left. She said, "You see her over there?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't know how she's got the nerve." She said, "She's never been married. She's got no regular man. And that'll be her second in 3 years." I said, "Will it really?" She said, "It will." She said the first coat was a green one with a sort of African... Well, I don't want to hear all that. So I thought, I'll forget her. And I turned to this lady on my right. She'd be a bit younger than me. I suppose she'd be about 25. "Madam, if I live till next Thursday, I shall be 34. If I die, I'll be 59. However, I could see that she is what is known in medical circles as expecting a happy event. And so I thought if it's a first, she could be a bit nervous. So I said, "Is it your first?" She said, "Yes, it is." Very pleasant. Her own teeth and everything. So, just then, it's my turn to go in, because normally you never know, do you? I mean, at our doctors, there's 5 of them, you know, and they've all got the names up behind a bit of glass and a bell and a light. But if the bell rings, the light doesn't light up, and if the light... the bell... So, I mean, but I knew I followed this chap because he had an axe in his head. And I'd followed him in, and he was a right moaner, you know. He kept holding his head and saying, "Oh, it does hurt." And I thought, well, it would, you know. It never seemed to occur to the silly fool to take it out. Anyway, I suppose he thought he'd fallen off. And so I go in. He said, "What seems to be the trouble?" I said, "Well, keep getting this rash." He said, "Where?" I said, "Where?" "Everywhere." I said, "On the top of the bus, in the co-op." He says, "No, on your body." I said, "Oh, just below the knees." He said, "I shall have to give you a thorough medical extermination." So I took my clothes off. Well, I'm saying I took my clothes off. I kept my shoes on in case the place caught fire. I'm not one for dashing in the street looking silly. And the doctor says to me, "I'll have to take a sample from you of blood." So he gets this hydraulic syringe, stuck it in my back, looked at it, stuck it in the small of my back, looked at it, stuck it in my leg, looked at it. He said, "I daren't take it from below your knees, it'll be all sludge." He says, "Look, run round the waiting room for a few minutes, say about 3 or 4 times, and try and get your blood going right round." Well, he never said a word about getting dressed first. I got back into the insulting chamber. He took a sample from my arm. He squirted it into a test tube. He held it up to the light. He said to the nurse, "Take that to the brewery." He said, "Maybe they can tell us what it is." I left there. I went back to the Goat and Compasses. And Harry came in, white as a sheep. Harry Armitage. He said our television aerials fell off the chimney pot. So I said to Harry, borrow a ladder. Long enough, get the aerial back out of the garden and we'll fasten it up. So he comes in the next night, all chirpy, you know. He soon livens up, Harry. He said, there. Got a ladder. I said, is it long enough? He said, it's 40 foot. I said, 40 foot, how are we going to manipulate it? He said, easy, it folds up into 10 foot length. Which it did. Harry was on the top rung when it did it. And his missus was dusting the bedrooms at the time. You know, she saw Harry go sailing head first past the window. She thought, well, it hasn't taken him long. We got him to the hospital. The sister, you should have heard her. She said he's got a slight fracture of the skull, 2 broken legs, his arm broken in 3 places on the right-hand side, 1 place on the left-hand side, his foot crushed, and 8 ribs pushed in. I said, how does he feel of himself? The way she answered me was so unmedical, I cannot repeat. We get to Charlie's house, his missus is there, waiting on the front step with a rolling pin at the alert. He said, aren't I lucky? What a wonderful wife I've got. Fancy taking the trouble to start baking this time of night. Hey, time of night, I'll have to go. So long for now, folks. Bye.